have been folding my tongue beneath itself, bleaching my language, clenching my jaw with shackled teeth, because the moment I open my mouth, uprising spring from my saliva, my dialogue is cruddy. Trample with the muddy boots of trade and migration, battling nations in my diaphragm, so the rhythm in my diction sounds like a war cry. And despite the white stuffed down my windpipe, I talk black with nappy phonics, syllables that kink and twist, naughty expression that beads on my palate, so glow in this spit shine flow, Jerry curl jogging, bongo drums in my diction. This slang is semantic resistance, off with the head of the king's English. Can't you smell the riot on my breath? Char in my esophagus, my laugh is arsenic. And ain't enough opiates in this elementary education to hook me on phonics or gentrify the djembe out of my pronunciation. Love the taste of this cornbread accent. Sugar cane slang my tongue is. Motherland, mama of civilization, birth of every nation. Scat, boom, back, hi-hat, jazz, sax. There is music in my melanin and I be talking hella black. With a neck roll to articulate my tone. Conversations get you high as my cheekbones, and lingo bout lush as these hips done grown. Thick thighs and deep fried vernacular. Hand motions and sound effects. Hieroglyphics hidden in my messages. My breath is the building of the pyramids on repeat. I'm like a Negro spiritual sampled over a trap beat. There is a black anthem inside my belly, so I will always lift every voice and speak.
Testing 1 2. There we go. There we go. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another experience of DaAfrican Speaks. I am IJ, the African, and we are here focusing on the rise of the African within you. Our social media Pan-African movement, where seek to bring all Black people together under one umbrella. All right, we're working on that the liberation struggle, that movement, that big Pan-African global family. So we welcome you to this experience. We have been talking about the last couple of weeks about the Black woman's medicine. Now today we added a little twist because did it 3 times, and a couple of times that we were doing it, the first time was we talked about the intro. So we gave a quick synopsis of what this going from trauma to triumph, that journey to what we call now, what is being called the divine feminine, the awareness of the divine feminine, that this journey that sisters are taking. And for me, I decided that, hey, in order to actually be the opposite of my sister, I have to take the time to understand my sister. And so making that journey to research, study, and not only that, I'm a father of a young lady, and I always want to be able to communicate with her, not at her or talk at her or even to her, but be able to discuss her journey with her so that Pops truly understands what she's going through. And so we embark on this journey of the divine feminine. And again, it was the first time we gave it was an intro of the experience. The second time we talked about womb healing. Tonight, the topic is the gift of the spiritual ear. The gift of the spiritual ear. And so in this process of what we're trying to do is we're trying to help us understand even more, sisters. And some sisters may not even know, because I've asked several sisters, hey, do you know the term the divine feminine? No. Do you know about the experience of the divine feminine? I can't say I do, brother. Then I had a conversation with a somewhat woke sister, and I asked her about the processes of experiencing the divine feminine. Couldn't give me complete defined definitions. It's just something that she knew about. She claims it. It's just arbitrarily claimed that this is who I am. Then I had a conversation with someone who came onto some newly walked down the road of African spirituality and talked about, herself as being the experience of the divine feminine. And I said, so what trauma have you been addressing? No conversation. That's something. So I said, wow, I'm going to talk about this. I want to share in this dialogue and this conversation according to the studies that I have jumped on, because I belong to a community called the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, Shrine of the Black Madonna. And completely understand why we didn't name it the Temple of the Black Messiah. But in this journey, during and understanding the Black woman's journey toward the divine feminine, we experience also the kinetic influence she has on this planet. And we talked about that in each segment, which is the action that she gives when she's in motion. That's her power in motion. What is your kinetic influence with the world in which we live in? And so to give a recap, in journeying toward the divine feminine, one of the things that I've discovered and what sisters come to discover is the fact that, and some of them, some do and some don't. So hopefully if you haven't heard of this before, go ahead and comment if you have or if you haven't. But being able to see yourself as a complete reflection of the characteristics of the Creator. Not a complete, but a reflection of the Creator. Because as Black men, and Black brothers been walking around calling themselves gods for a minute, and sisters earth. I'm not going to say I flip it, but I'd say Black women are more God-like than a Black man, even in the purest form. Why? Because within her is a womb. It is a laboratory of creation that the Black man doesn't have, and that's the womb, the lower womb. But when we also talk about the womb, we said that there was 2 possible 3 wombs. The womb of thought, the womb of our heart, and the womb of production in life. And there is no possible way. And when she begins to give birth, physically giving birth, not in thought, not in emotion, but giving birth to life physically in the lower womb, her body expands the same way the universe does, to be able to hold the life within. And if anybody knows about the expansion of a sister, you can look at them sisters who be having the vitro fertilization, and they having 8 children, and their body can hold all 8. anything that God creates, God can sustain. I don't produce breast milk, but you do. And not only that, if you have multiple kids and each kid's body has a different genetic need, nutritional need, your milk changes per child because the saliva in the child's mouth interacts with the enzyme of your body. And the milk changes according to the need of that child. It even regulates the milk. The body regulates melatonin release. It knows when it's in the daytime, it doesn't release as much melatonin, but it knows when it needs to put that baby to sleep when the night falls. Your body is syncopated with the universe and time, and that's another part of going toward the divine feminine. There are characteristics of the universe that exist only in you. God created all of the universe beginning to end, and it was a black woman who created all of humanity from beginning to end. Everything comes out of your womb. Everything comes out of your womb. And there's some information that I was reading today that said, that talks about the possibility of a virgin birth, and we'll go through that on some other time. I might have to read up on that some more. But there is some DNA within some cells within you that in the right spiritual state, a woman can give birth within herself. What? That dated back in the books in Egypt. Yes. I be learning some stuff. I bet you didn't know that. And so looking at the characteristics of the experience of becoming the divine feminine, not just claiming the name, there are certain things that happen to you when you walk into this journey, going from your trauma of whole 100 years of captivity to your triumph, experiencing the God within. We ended off last week with those attributes. And today we're going to be discussing the process in which your intuition increases. Your nurturing increases. Your compassion, that comes next week. But we're dealing with that ability to feel with something other than just your hands. And that starts with what we discussed last week, which was the womb healing. Women seeking a greater sense of their self in God cannot reach that point unless they've gone through this process. Ain't that something? Because we have a whole bunch of spiritual women that are running around claiming to be spiritually aware without not one time dealing with womb healing. That's African. Because somewhere along the line, someone said, I need to deal with the traumatic experience that I'm going through, that I've gone through, that my womb has suffered. And when we're dealing with the issue of the womb, we're not just talking about the reproductive system. Some sisters that have had a conversation said that, oh, it's the womb healing, and it's about sexual trauma and all this other. And it was all surface. I said, well, what about the other wombs? She had no conversation. Excuse me. What about the womb of creation when it comes to the power of your thoughts? What about the womb in your heart when it deals with the creation of emotion and love? How can you just heal one womb and not the others? And then why is it only based off of relationships when the womb trauma goes back 400 years? Now, when you start healing, dealing with womb healing, it's transgenerational. You go into these experiences of womb healing and you start walking into dealing with the issues of generational trauma of post-traumatic slave syndrome. You deal with the immediate healing of bad relationships. You deal with that immediate. That's almost instant. But then to get to the depth of what keeps you from experiencing the concept, the spiritual technology of understanding that you are an expression of divine feminine, you got to heal through the generations of your bloodline. You got to heal those who are coming through you and those that you have come through. That's a different level when sisters, and you can tell sisters when sisters are saying, hey, I'm working toward that divine feminine. Okay. And so you're asking questions, and if you haven't gone through these processes of realizing that your home was stolen, the continent of Africa, and you become emotionally connected to that. The reason why you're looking around the world and seeing your kids impoverished where they can't eat is because your refrigerator was taken from you. The land, your culture. Kids my mother, one of cyber mother said, is stinking thinking. Because their heritage was removed. And then you take a look at a sister have to, in this process, a sister has to also take a look at that inherited trauma. It's not just what you endure, it's what your grandmothers endure. That is in your system, in your body. It's in it's a block that keeps you from being you. And then I sit down and I realize that in this space, sister told me when she took the time to realize that her children inherited her trauma. The process of making a slave, we said they did not want to enslave you. They didn't care about it. And now we're gonna open the portal that you are to reach your ancestors. They did not care about who landed in a ship. They didn't want the person that came off the ship. They wanted the person that was going to be produced by the person that came off the ship. They didn't want to enslave you. They wanted to enslave your womb. And we said that time and time again. Because what she produces controls the planet. They didn't want us. They wanted you. And they used you. When they destroyed us, they controlled us, men, by controlling how you treat what comes from your womb. They wanted your womb. And as long as the world holds your womb, it holds the balance of black life and can completely control how we think and how we move. And so some sisters, when they realized that they no longer wanted to suffer their children, somewhere along the line that there was a spiritual breakthrough where sister said we need to learn the technology and the techniques it takes for us to reclaim the womb back. That's our minds, our hearts, and the reproductive system. In that space of understanding that this is a war to reclaim self, sisters soldiered up. This journey is not an easy journey. I speak to a lot of sisters and spoken to a lot of sisters in regards to who have truly tried to take this particular journey, moving toward the trauma, the triumph, getting to experience the divine feminine. They break down in the process of womb healing when they get those emotions come up and out. through that womb healing process. And sisters, if you never had one, hit me up. I can guide you to someone who actually does it. I'm trying to get her whole group on the show so they can express and talk about that journey. Y'all next to come up here and talk. So make them phone calls. Get y'all together. We could do that next week. But it's a war. It's a battle. It's a fight. And then the key part is it's not fighting something outside their experience. Sisters go to war. Within. They realize that my inner me is more powerful than my enemy. And so this whole journey going toward the divine feminine is not against society, but it is against what society did within. This whole battle is an inward journey. How far and how deep are you willing to go within your own psyche, within your own genetic pool? Digging down, going back, removing things out. Sisters go to war. Brothers, we are not privy to the situations they go through to find themselves. We definitely are not. And I always sit down and say, if you really want to, dating outside your race is ridiculous, because can't no other man than a black man can understand you and love you for the journey that you go through. But then I paused. I said, wait a minute, brother, but do you really understand her journey? Can you really appreciate who she is if you don't know what she goes through? And I sat down and said, man, I have a daughter I got to understand, because I want to always be able to relate to my kid. I want to always be able to relate to the women that are around me and give them the honor and respect that they deserve, because for a long time we haven't given them. And this life that we have here won't change until we give them complete support in this battle. And so in that space of the sister seeking, coming through the womb healing process, and it's a continual process. It's not something that you do it once and it's over. You might have to do it weekly or monthly or however it is, but it is definitely a considered process. And then when you cleanse in 3, your mind, your heart, and your productive system, all creative laboratories, so that the things that you create are not tainted in trauma. Wow. A woman goes from soldier to the reconstruction of tearing down inner walls. Those walls that separate her or separate you, black woman, from your experience in God. Something that keeps your awareness of that connection. Now, we have said that there are parts of your being, and this doesn't happen for a black man. As you break down those walls, and as I'm going through breaking down my walls, I'm able to see you. But it didn't matter how much you've been through, the Creator made sure that your genetic makeup, the nurturing and nature of who you are, will always mimic that divine power of creation. You can't get away from it. Even in an unconscious state of living, you can't get away from it. Your body syncopates with the movement of time. We don't. You can't get away from it. Your body feeds what it produces. We don't. You can't get away from it. And so being told you're not a divine being, you come from man, ridiculous. Ain't no way somebody who is absolutely made up of characteristics of the divine consciousness comes from the individual that can't literally produce life. No, we was manifested at the same time, and we have the same responsibility. My Y chromosome makes me God muscle. Your double X, divine power. Ain't that something? Creation personified. I don't have that. I only have two wombs, my mind and my heart. And with my hands, I can grow life, which is vegetation. That's it. You produce life. Life grows within you the same way we grow in God. And then when you birth life, the same way God gave birth to humanity, you have to sever the connection, that cord where the child eats and drinks and hears everything from you. And it has free will, separate from you, the same way God gave humanity that came through you. There is nothing about who you are that can be separated from the divine. And so you go to work. You go to work to remove those things in this process that keeps you from that direct connection with God. This world was created by man, and well, not created by man, it's run by man because of the Y chromosome, that ego we have. We have muscle. We can take control of things when you're God muscle. And in almost every spiritual discipline, non-African, non-Afrocentric, put it that way, the woman comes second. There's no possible way. When she has the characteristics of life, and the closer you get to experiencing your divine feminine, you have to go through certain walls where the truths of who you are, the who you were created, when you start tearing down those walls, those rooms that you walk in of reality and truth start coming at you. The things that are within your DNA start coming at you. Because when you're tearing down those walls, you have to go back into your culture. African spirituality. Your heritage. Your traditions. To get down into the understanding of accessing your DNA. Now, it is said that in our DNA, there are 20 generations of information locked within the DNA. 20 generations. And there is epigenetic learning, meaning that God put in our DNA information that once you start going deeper in and you're knocking those walls and you're getting into the African within, there will be data that is released from your ancestors to give you a more clearer understanding of what a black woman is worth in regards to her journey towards the divine feminine. Epigenetic learning. That womb healing process begins to unlock the horror and terror that you have gone through. Unlocks it. It moves you past it. And it gets you to the experience of information where you understand herbs and healing and everything else. Ain't that something? And things begin to change and forever you may be this sister when you start knocking down those walls. But what changes is that soldier in you. Some sisters go to battle with the world and they stay soldiers. That's the one who don't embrace culture, who don't embrace African spirituality, who does not embrace her people or the land she comes from. She stays this. She forcing herself to live in a country that doesn't want her. She's become successful, independent. She stays a soldier because she doesn't tap into the areas of her being that unlocks the truths of who she is. And you see that. And a lot of sisters moving forward, and they all about that money. They talk about generational wealth without no generational health. So they manifest themselves, and I always wonder why people, we're joining some of us don't have to join the army, and some of us do. They get to those experiences. But when a sister dives deep into that DNA and she experiences the epigenetic information, that cellular DNA information that comes out of her, things start turning and churning, and the spirit of warrior that she moves towards absolutely changes. This sister's just not the same. Black woman, you become, when you're in the process of becoming, there's a certain fire in your eye because you realize what the world has done to your family, what the world has made you produce out of your own womb. And that's the womb of your thoughts, the womb of your heart, and the womb of your production system. There becomes a righteous indignation, and you switch gears and you continue to go to work. We're talking about accessing that divine feminine. Dealing with the process of developing the gift of the spiritual ear in that God warrior mode, seeking to reclaim all that was taken away. Sister, you walk into a realm as that data is being unleashed, 20 generations of knowledge, of knowing who you are to God. Not to yourself, not to your children, but to God. And when you come to that understanding, you walk into an experience of quantum consciousness. It's a whole nother level of consciousness. This process of going from trauma to triumph, that journey towards the divine feminine, you enter into a realm of quantum consciousness. And if you don't know what it is, maybe you haven't completely reached it yet. But that doesn't mean it's not coming if you've been a part of this journey. It slowly begins to come to you. And that quantum consciousness, and there are levels of spiritual, it's like 5 stages of spiritual awareness, of realities, 5 stages of reality that you go through. And that's that opening up that chakras. All the chakras are lining up to that Kundalini experience. And that quantum consciousness is entering into that field of energy that is complete oneness. Where you start realizing, tearing down those walls, getting into the God warrior. Black women used to rock them back and forth saying, I'm on the battlefield for the Lord. I was like, why are you going to war? Didn't get it till I started understanding completely the journey to the divine feminine. You're not on the battlefield until you get to this point. And our ancestors, our female ancestors, kept giving and giving and giving. Why? Because they knew one day they're going to be able to reach that generation who can get access, direct access to God. Storing up the information, singing it through the womb. They said, you might have controlled what I created before. But as black women seek to access this quantum consciousness, the greater consciousness, which is God, to regain their identity and heal themselves from generations before and prepare to heal what comes out of them. And if you're not having kids no more, you're healing the ones that are there. You're not taking the journey by yourself. That is what happens. And you realize that everything is interconnected. When you walk into the womb of God. Ain't that something? The being that has the womb enters back into the cosmic consciousness that is the womb. The walls that separated your psyche from understanding of your oneness of the Creator dissipates. And it is the womb now healing the womb. You go back generations to your beginning of time and you find yourself back where you began. The womb speaking to the womb. The co-creator of who you are speaks to the creator of which you come from. And in that experience, you are connected to every generation that you going back to the beginning of time. To the point where you was just a spiritual being in the midst of God, where God said, let us create man in our own image. One male and one female. Ain't that something? It's not one male who was supposed to be a female. Or one female who was supposed to be a male. No. He said we create one male and one female. And he puts you in these avatar bodies that has the ability to hold the entity that you are. The womb of who you are, of your consciousness, enters into the womb of the Creator, becoming one with that scenario. And in that space, you become completely sensitive because you realize in the quantum consciousness that you are pure light and energy. You are pure light and energy. That's why anytime, and I always wondered why when someone has an idea, the symbol is a light bulb. Because that energy is light that comes from the divine consciousness. And so you become in tuned with universal vibrations. And in that process, you develop sonar, I'm going to call it. Because you are in tune to your own cellular information as information is being released to you. Thoughts come. And sometimes you wonder, where did that come from? It's that intuition. It builds on that discernment. Why? Because there's something coming at you, just releasing unto you. You will always heard stories of how mothers know when something's going on with their child. There are parts that are crafted it within you in terms of your genetic makeup that you cannot shake. This is that divine feminine. Your intuition clears. There's no cloud. So I said, yeah, there'll be no confusion. What confusion is it? What? God spoke. And you're in that place of complete listening. When I asked sister, so, how do you decide A, B, C, D, F, G? Well, discernment. Well, what was your process of increasing your understanding and discernment? There's no answer. However, in African spiritual technology, there's a process. And the process starts with womb healing. And one of the gifts that is unleashed is that ability to see without your eyes and to hear without your ears. What? The information, the epigenetic information is released, and you might get some ideas. Some other black woman across the globe who is vibrating on the same frequency as you are, it releases a thought, and y'all share it. And so you might be creating something, and you look across the globe or across the world and see someone manifesting the same thing. It's because you vibrated on the same frequency, and the information that she released given to you, or it's the information that you released was given to her. Or how about when you start creating and building on things, individuals are drawn to you that can help you resolve what you were thinking. This intuitive spirit of a black woman is extremely powerful. And she starts to realize that third eye consciousness is the consciousness of her DNA, it's the consciousness of her ancestors, and is a direct consciousness of the Creator. What? And you begin to walk in the gift of the spiritual ear. And every time you step to another level, your hearing increases. If you take on in wrong information that builds up that wall, that's something, because sisters, we all have a habit, even brothers, of undoing what we've just taken down. That hearing diminishes. But the moment you walk back in to the womb of the Creator, and something that's in that harmony, that's when you quiet not the world outside of you, but the world inside of you. You rid yourself from not only the immediate traumas of relationships and sexual traumas or emotional traumas, but you have rid yourself from transgenerational traumas. And you felt the tears. You allowed yourself to be a vessel for the tears of your mothers to come out of you. Your heart changes. Your thought processes changes. Your sonar of listening and hearing changes. At that moment in this journey, you become a master at asking the epigenetic information in your DNA and RNA to be released. Asking for your ancestors to send you particular answers and them unlocking the DNA that allows you to accomplish the task in which is there. Asking the creator because you have trained your body to surrender to the spiritual energy around you. And the minute you ask, the art of a black woman becomes the part where she just listens. You know how they say that, a black man only needs somebody to listen to him? I need more than you listening, though. I need us to communicate. But you begin to listen. And because you know what the world has put you through, when you hear the voice of your ancestors and you hear the voice of the creator, you just do. Making your conversations on multiple realms and multiple spiritual levels count for something. When you start saying those affirmations, I am, you're not just speaking to yourself, you're speaking to all those that came before you, healing them and giving them the memory of who they were, so they pour that back into you. And then they work within the universe to align things for you to pull toward you. That's where the law of attraction comes from. You ask and you listen. That's that meditation. That's why you go to nature. That's why you more women doing yoga and tai chi, changing diets to purify the vessel to receive the sonar capability of increasing your intuition. I never understood, well, let's say this, I understand more when they say increase my territory. Increase my vibrational field that I may receive information from all across the universe. To ask, to listen, to do. Now you already have that woman's intuition. They talk about that, but they never tell you where it comes from and how to access even more. They talk about the discernment, where it's going to come from, who is giving you the information, that vibration that you're getting. They got this entangled quantum theory, where your mind is connected to your children. And you can know when something's about to happen. Why? Because your listening has been in tune. And again, because black women are black women, there are certain characteristics that you can't let go of. And some of them without this journey have that ear. So imagine going through this journey of womb healing to get to experience your divine feminine. Because once you realize how to quiet the noise and eradicate the trauma within so that you could hear God speak through your being, you walk into a realm where you see yourself completely and wholeheartedly in an experience where you are 100% cosmic. How you see yourself and the power of who you are begins to change. And this sister never goes back to who she was. She only walks towards to her I am. as defined by the divine, the greater divine consciousness, and understands her oneness with all things. That is the journey to the divine feminine. And in that space, and we'll talk about this next time, develops the selfish self-care, the selfless. Because wait a minute, they say it's having self-care is a state of just taking care of you. No, it's not. And we're going to go over that. But that self-care, self-aware experience comes in the process of you hearing way beyond the makeup of your eyes and your ears. They say in the Bible, Jesus said, I speak for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. I'm like, what are you talking about? My eyes and ears see and hear. We wasn't talking about that eye. He was talking about that eye, that pineal gland activation that vibrates with your melanin absorbing light, harmonizing with the universe, increasing your spiritual ear. This journey to the divine feminine is beautiful. I sat down and said, man, beautiful. And the more a black man can see your journey and hear your journey and understand your journey, because most sisters, y'all don't communicate it to us. You don't discuss it with us. Especially if we seek to know what's going on with you, what's happening with you. How can we embrace who you are if you're not sharing who you are? That gives the question, are you really on the journey for the divine feminine? But in this space, in the African Speaks, this is exactly what your journey is when we seek to help you understand the rise of the African within inside yourself. And while we're there, we as black men and the brothers who are listening, I had a couple of brothers, y'all listen, because I'm trying to help you understand your woman. I know there was times where they would say, and this is my Muslim brothers, we're supposed to be here to help elevate our sisters. I said, what? So now I know how to elevate me, and I know how to give you general information, but there by no means is a man who has been, and I couldn't see him, talking about getting you to your divine feminine. So if he seeks to you looking for insight, sister, and the brother cannot understand this journey that you are on, yeah, he may be the one who needs elevation. Next week, it is about the selfless self-care, being truly aware, self-aware. This one is going to be, it has a little twist to it. Selfless self-care, being truly aware, is one of the next level of what happens to a black woman when she seeks the divine feminine, going through the process of womb healing. I see you, black woman. I hear you, black woman. And I'm seeking to understand you, my sister. With that being said, one love.
If I had to choose, I would still choose you. After all the things society has told you to imbue, somehow your light has been able to shine through. The power resides within divine feminine, not only in women, but also in men. The balance obtained here is what will light our feet on the path to come. It is the strength that we keep near that will allow our spirits to hold steadfast and not succumb. The energy of love, of life, of all creation. The spark of light in the womb that combusts, evolves into a nation. The divine feminine, the power held so dearly. The divine feminine, the scope that allows us to see one humanity again so clearly. The power that we hold, the sparkling in our eyes, how our self and inner beauty unfold in the truth seen beyond the disguise. Oh, you are divine, Mother Nature. Mother Earth, I am thankful daily for all of the miracles that you birth. When I sit and I truly ponder the things that I'm grateful for, my heart does not wander. Because I know truth, and truth is love. If you live through understanding of self, then nothing comes above. When you understand your oneness with nature and all else that surrounds, you stop being disturbed by all of the external sounds. You realize the silence within yourself. You understand the meaning of true wealth. It is your health. Everything you intake then becomes part of your body, your temple, your physical self. Understand that the keys to your kingdom again lie within yourself. With all of this, we must remember, there is nothing here with which we are not members. We must honor and respect the environment as ourselves, because we are directly impacted by everything we output, and that equates to our health. Kindness, love, grace. Allow heaven to become embodiment, much more than a place. And when things seem difficult, you are able to face, because through your divine feminine, you will recall your righteousness that cannot be replaced.